This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This is the Daily Blast from the New Republic, produced and presented by the DSR Network. I'm your host, Greg Sargent. These are heady times for MAGA. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Elon Musk are teaming up to slash the government to ribbons as part of Musk's new Department of Government Efficiency. Marjorie and Musk, what could give MAGA a bigger thrill than that combination? But Politico now reports that some Republicans quietly fear this could backfire. They believe Greene will become a distraction from the Trump and GOP agenda of spending cuts and shrinking government. Distraction is Washington speak for disaster. As it is, putting Musk's right-wing tech bro worldview anywhere near serious governance is already dangerous, but throwing in MTG could make it even more combustible. And this could have major implications for all of us. Today we're trying to make sense of all this with tech writer Gil Duran, who closely tracks Musk's machinations. Thanks for coming back on, Gil.
Thanks for having me.
So Musk heads up this new Department of Government Efficiency with Vivek Ramaswamy. Trump created this body, and Musk seems to think that he's going to figure out how to find enormous spending cuts that Congress will accept. The role is advisory, but the thing is, Musk seems to be taking the role very seriously. You've followed him a long time. How do you think he views this, and what does he really expect out of it in his head?
Well, I think he views it as a tremendous way to get attention, which is one of the primary things he seems to be after on a daily basis. Elon Musk has to be the center of attention at all times. I also think that he is a bit naive going into this, because cutting government is not as easy as posting memes about cutting government. There's a lot of cuts that if you start making them, especially if you're trying to hit some $2 trillion crazy goal, that are going to hurt people, that are going to turn the politics against you, and that are going to result in a very short career in Washington. So I think he takes it seriously. I think he views government as a butterfly whose wings he can easily pull off. I think he'll find that it's a lot more complicated and dangerous than that.
No doubt. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene enters the picture here because she's heading up a new House subcommittee focused on DOGE. That's the Musk outfit. Politico reports that some Republicans privately think that House Speaker Mike Johnson just put Greene there as part of a kind of deal in which she gets this plum post, and that insulates him from MAGA challenges to his speakership. But Republicans really think this is going to become a distraction. Where do you see this going? How do you see Greene and Musk working together?
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a ticking time bomb. And with Elon Musk in the mix, you have two ticking time bombs together, I think. I think the first thing that tells me about Doge is that this is going to be crazy town. Greene has no filter and no standards, and Musk and Trump are planning to make this as outrageous as possible with little concern for public opinion. So Marjorie Taylor Greene being included is like throwing gasoline on a fire. The plan here is to make this little experiment as dramatic as possible. The goal is also to weaponize government. Greene is a rabid partisan. She's not some respected legislator known for her well-measured views. She's a fountain of conspiracy theories with a real knack for going viral and making news for the worst possible reasons. So they're really going to go after anything perceived as liberal or democratic. But they've accused Democrats of weaponizing government, but that's actually what they plan to do. And I think they're going to try to do as much damage as possible. But the other thing I would say about including her is this is going to be extremely volatile. They're packing a lot of massive egos into this operation. None of these people have shown a great ability to play well with others. So there's a high possibility this all goes very wrong at some point.
it's true that both Green and Musk are prone to a certain type of really out of control conspiracy theorizing that could be really volatile in this situation. I mean, any time that anyone comes up with some sort of theory about some governmental body, no matter how outlandish, it can just suddenly be turned into a justification for eliminating it. And it's sort of seems to me that Republicans at some point are going to have to deal with that, right? Green and Musk, using their immense platforms and their immense popularity with MAGA to turn the MAGA masses against this or that thing in government that Republicans secretly don't want to cut. It seems like a problem, no?
Definitely. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not really a politician, and neither is Elon Musk. These people are walking, living memes, and one of them is the richest man in the world, who's famously said that empathy is evil. And so if you have no empathy and you have no experience in government, you don't know what you're doing. These Republicans very much have to worry that the destruction that Elon Musk and Marjorie Taylor Greene cause will cost the Republican Party heavily in a few years. There's nothing that suggests they will be doing things that are somehow political winners. You can't cut $2 trillion from federal government and not have some blood flowing somewhere. So I think that Republicans would be right to be worried. And I would assume that part of the calculation here is that adding Marjorie Taylor Greene to the mix will make it more likely to fail more quickly.
There's this interesting synergy here between Musk and Marjorie Taylor Greene, which goes as follows. Republicans are all required to pretend that Musk's panel is a real thing. You can see them going through these motions of meeting with him and saying that was a very important meeting. We discussed some very, really critical issues, right? Same with Greene. They all have to pretend their subcommittee is a real thing, that they're going to take its recommendations very seriously. But at some point, there's got to be a collision between appearance and reality, right? Musk and Greene are going to presumably come up with some actual recommendations. And at that point, Republicans are going to have to deal with it, right? Then what happens?
Well, everything in Washington is a negotiation. There will be some cuts proposed that will be popular. There are plenty of government expenditures that voters might consider unnecessary or wasteful. I know this from experience. In 2011 and 2012, I worked with Jerry Brown when he was governor of California. We had to cut billions from the state budget because of a deficit. You can cut extra cell phones, wasteful fleet spending. We banned government employees from going on out-of-state trips for conferences. These were all very popular, but they don't really add up to much. To get to $2 trillion, you've got to cut deep into programs that people care about, not just people in blue states, but people in red states. And so I can see this being a big exercise where they get some good press for rooting out some kind of owl fertility study that people think is stupid that may actually be very important to science for some reason, and getting some popularity out of it in that way. But when the rubber meets the road, I don't think Republicans are going to want to cut Social Security and other things that matter because Elon Musk puts them on a list. He's not the power in Washington. They have to tread carefully because he's so wealthy, but nobody who's in politics wants some outsider calling the shots. And I would say he's going to find that the knives are out for him in the Capitol.
What happens, though, given that he and Marjorie Taylor Greene are raising these expectations big time among MAGA? I mean, clearly Republicans are afraid of Trump voters, at least to some degree. Musk, his own ego is on the line here in a big way, right? There has to come a point at which Republicans essentially say, no, we're not doing that. It's too crazy. And then what happens, given the high expectations of the MAGA masses? Where does that go?
Well, he might get mad and pout. I don't know that people will be paying too much attention, to be honest. They could just create some other frenzy around some other issue and pretend that they cut $2 trillion, and the MAGA base won't know any different, right? They're very good at pretending they've done things they haven't done. But most of these government commissions, I mean, this is not the first time a politician has had a government efficiency commission that's going to make a bunch of recommendations, right? And they typically end with nothing much really happening. And so I think that the other part of it is there's some severability here because Elon Musk and Marjorie Taylor Greene can take the fall. And as we see with this political story, the story announcing her involvement is a negative one about how it's a bad thing. And so there'll be plenty of leaks. And I think the narrative will be that Elon Musk has no idea what he's doing and was going to cut things that were going to hurt Republicans and hurt farmers and hurt businesses and hurt schools and the Republicans will have a way out. I think they'll try very hard to do a lot of damage. But the calculus you have to make is whether you cut off your own nose to spite your own face. Everyone talks a big game about cutting the government. No one has really done that in Washington for a very long time. So it's not clear that it'll happen now because that's what some South African billionaire wants.
Yeah, and House Speaker Mike Johnson is not going to want to imperil vulnerable House Republicans in marginal districts. I mean, we still do have elections, I think. And so, there will come a point at which Republicans will have to offload the damage onto Musk. And I think you're right that we're going to see leaks of all kinds, which essentially say things like, Musk and Green didn't have any idea what they were talking about. I mean, they already really despise Green. Many of the Republicans do anyway. And I think Musk is in for the same treatment.
Definitely. His money gives him an extra power, but you can do a lot hidden behind the scenes. And I think the other risk he runs is he's trying to get so much attention. Trump's not going to like that. Trump is not the kind of guy who likes to live in other people's shadows. And there's a book called The 48 Laws of Power that's kind of a famous compendium of ancient and time-worn rules in politics and power. And rule number 1 is never outshine the master. Never make someone like Trump think that you're actually the boss. And Elon Musk has done a lot to give the impression that somehow he's going to be at the right hand, that he's in control.
With the election of Donald Trump, staying informed is more important than ever, and we're thankful you've chosen to listen to the DSR Network. Through the turbulent times ahead, we will continue to provide the insightful expert analysis on the issues that matter most around the world. We ask that you consider becoming a member to support our effort to provide you the best content possible. DSR members gain access to an ad-free listening experience, exclusive members-only segments of our shows, our members-only Discord community, and more. Use code HOLIDAY25 to get 50% off of your membership subscription at thedsrnetwork.com/buy. That's code HOLIDAY25 at thedsrnetwork.com/buy. The DSR Network will evolve in exciting ways in the new year, and we hope you'll join us.
Blinds.com Cyber Monday Last Chance is happening now. Don't miss out on up to 45% off site-wide. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 45% site-wide, plus a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
So there is a real ideology of sorts in the background behind all the craziness. This is something you've talked about at some length, the sort of right-wing tech bro universe. Clearly, Musk and MAGA, to maybe a lesser degree, despise the administrative state. They've hitched themselves to Trump. They see Trump as kind of like a charismatic and, I guess, personalist is the term, leader who can carry out right-wing red-pilled agendas without the impediments and without the sort of petty nuisance of bureaucrats getting in the way. So can you talk about that broader ideology, this kind of tech bro hatred of the administrative state? Where does it come from, and what's its real purpose?
Well, these men are very wealthy and very powerful, but government is more wealthy and powerful. Elon Musk is a billionaire, but government is a trillionaire. Governments can fight wars. Elon Musk can't. Government can put you behind bars for your crimes. Elon Musk can't do that. Not yet, right? If they can destroy the power of the state, then that power will be in their hands. And right now they see rules and laws as a threat. And, supposedly they're libertarian, so that means you'd want to eliminate these regulations and laws for everybody and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Earlier this year, I wrote about Balaji Srinivasan, who is this tech and crypto figure who has been influential on people like Elon Musk and Mark Andreessen and others. And he has this whole philosophy of how tech bros have to take over the government or create governments of their own. This idea is called the network state. And one of the things he said that has come back into my mind recently is that government is a trillionaire. And what you really have to do is find a way basically to get that pipeline of money and redirect it away from the liberal social welfare state and toward hyper-capitalism, because that's the best way forward. And so what they're not going to do is cut government to the bone. I think you're going to see a lot of privatization, which has also been a long-term goal of the Republican Party, right? They want to privatize prisons, the military-industrial complex, space travel, education, you name it. And this will make a lot of them super wealthy, and perhaps eventually, if they win, make a few of them trillionaires, because I think that's the goal now, is to not be billionaires, to be trillionaires eventually. So I think that is very much part of it. It's about redirecting that money and redirecting the power of government into private hands.
I think it's important to clarify that people like Musk and Andreessen and Peter Thiel and all the right-wing tech oligarchs, these are not really libertarians. They're authoritarians, right? They have a vision of a kind of rule by natural elite, natural aristocracy, and hypercapitalism is that in their view, right? Government is just pesky mediocrities, bureaucrats, woke, delusional liberals, getting in the way of their greatness, basically. Isn't that right? I mean, can you talk about that element of the vision, how it's not really libertarian, it's authoritarian?
Yeah, it's definitely authoritarian, and it's an ideology of supremacy, the supremacy of the wealthy over everyone else, the supremacy of the male over everyone else, the supremacy of white, for the most part, over everyone else, the supremacy of men over women. And I think that this is why they have so much in common with Trump's Republican Party, because it is also an ideology of supremacy and of hierarchy. And there are ways in which they diverge. I don't think Elon Musk really has anything common with your average MAGA voter, say in rural Kentucky, where I have family. I couldn't see Elon Musk lasting 5 seconds in a conversation with some of the Trump people I know there, right? He wouldn't be interested. But they have enough in common on this higher level that they are in this temporary alliance. But I know some people are feeling really defeated and scared, and oh no, they won, this is it. But I don't think we're there yet. I think that there's a lot of volatility in this alliance. And I think that after a year or two, the American people are going to be looking for a different direction, one with a bit more stability and a bit more thoughtfulness in terms of how we build toward the future. That doesn't involve weakening the public good, weakening the U.S. government, and weakening the United States of America at a very dangerous time in the world, which seems to be on their agenda.
Yeah, and you can see one way that this unfolds, which is as people like Musk and Marjorie Taylor Greene start rolling out these batshit crazy ideas that would cut things in government that people actually like and depend on, then all of a sudden Trump starts to look like he's just not at all in control of anything anymore. And him being in power, he takes the blame for other stuff that's going wrong outside of government and so forth. So what ends up happening is a view crystallizes of Trump as he really is, which is completely incompetent and so kind of caught in his own pathological hatreds and delusions that he's just not able to govern at all. And then all of a sudden, the Musk and Green stuff sort of feeds into that and then reminds people why they like competent public servants, why they like government that actually works. It will remind people why they actually like government. And that's, I think, could fuel the desire by voters for a new direction.
Definitely. A lot of what government does is protect people from private greed, the kind of private greed best symbolized by these empathy-free billionaires. And so I think people will come to their senses at some point if they try to go too far and overreach, which I think that they will. But nothing lasts forever. And in my experience in politics, voters will often want one thing and then want another thing very soon after that. So getting that calculus right and not getting thrown out of office very quickly or becoming unpopular is the art of politics. And if you're Elon Musk and Marjorie Taylor Greene, you have no handle on that part of it. And so Trump at any time can throw them out the door. And if there's one saving grace we have right now in Trump, it's that he's not loyal to anyone. And he puts himself first. Now, Elon has a lot of money, and that'll help him stay in there a bit longer because Trump is kind of loyal and lustful for money. But I think that over time, there's some real danger in Elon Musk trying to take this too far, because it's Trump who will pay the price. Elon pays no price. He's just making more money every time he wakes up. So Trump, though, will pay a price. And if they fail at this, and if they go too far, then the pendulum will swing the other way, and they will find themselves at the receiving end of that which they tried to deliver onto others.
I do think that you could really see these guys recommending the privatization of all sorts of government functions that people like, and them just thinking, oh, let's just turn it over to the natural elite to handle from now on, i.e. the oligarchy, and that really causing a public backlash.
Yeah, I remember in Political Science 101, the professor the first day saying, politics is who gets what and when. And these billionaires want everything and they want it now. But the government, this public institution we've built, belongs to the American people. And I don't think they'll take it away so easily.
To bring it back to Marjorie Taylor Greene for a second, you can kind of see what Musk sees in her, right? Musk clearly sees Trump as this kind of incredibly charismatic figure who can kind of be in command of enormous masses of people in a way that even Musk can't be. And so Trump is kind of a vessel to carry out whatever sort of ideas Musk has for the future. Greene is a little bit similar in that sense, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene is a tremendously charismatic figure, maybe not super competent when it comes to public service, but she can command masses. And I think Musk probably sees that as useful. He thinks she can be, part of his team of government by charisma, as it is, right? Government by online charisma is what they're trying for. And, I think that creates the potential for a whole lot of disasters down the line.
Yeah, definitely. The business of government is very deeply involved in the everyday lives of people and their health and their safety and their futures. This is not time to be turning government into a meme, right? This is not some kind of joke, and I think they'll learn that the hard way. Marjorie Taylor Greene is someone who's willing to go along with anything and who has no regard for her image, her popularity. That's who she's a mad dog. That's who she is. But when you lie down with dogs, you get the fleas. And I think that, there's a really high chance this doesn't end well. And again, to be a good politician, you have to be very aware of the dangers, and you have to be wise, and you have to be judicious. And I don't see any evidence that these people are at all aware of those concepts. And they're about to try something that no one has tried and that no one has done. And again, I would say that I don't think it's going to go very well. And I would be really shocked if in a year or so, this isn't something that Trump has dismissed as a joke. You make some cuts, you move on, you pretend you did it. And, I think that may very well end up being what's happening. If they do cut $2 trillion from the government, we're going to have like a massive recession, possibly a depression. People will be jobless and hungry and standing in lines for healthcare, for food, for everything. We'll be like Argentina if they devalue the dollar to go deep into crypto. And then they'll be on midnight planes to Russia along with people like Assad. So again, there is a big danger in going too hard at trying to destroy the United States of America. And I know Elon Musk's ego is big, but I'm not really sure he's willing to accept the consequences of a swing and a miss here. And I think the chances are really high that's what will happen.
It sure looks that way. Gil Duran, thanks so much for talking to us today.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to The Daily Blast with me, your host, Greg Sargent. The Daily Blast is a New Republic podcast and is produced by Riley Fessler and the DSR Network.